when you go back and look at the multiple news reports that talk about the fact that Van was working with Dale Schultz to craft some compromise, my biggest concerns though really go to the provisions that he added, that he insisted on having for civil service protections. And my background is all in the private sector. That's the perspective I come from. I disagree with Van on the civil service protections. We have a workforce development plan. We have a department that hears grievances from private sector employers if they're wrongfully terminated, discriminated against. I've got the form here if anybody's interested in seeing it. That applies to both private sector and public sector workers. And for too long in Wisconsin and really across the nation, there has been two different playbooks for private sector workers and for public sector workers. And I think Van, by insisting on the civil service protections, went the opposite direction of where I would have gone with that. And I think, again, he has a completely different perspective than I do, having been in the public sector his whole career. And I think that I would be working to reform civil service protections and not looking to extend them. We can't afford to keep having two sets of playbooks for the public sector and another set of playbook for the private sector. I just think it's the wrong way to go.
Actually, I think civil service protection should be the same for both. What I did is I identified that there were issues in the collective bargaining that stripped out the protections for the little guy for the grievance process, discipline process, unfair termination from employment, and workplace safety committee. And that strengthened the bill because that put those protections in place for the little guy. You, and you. Everybody who's here that could be terminated because they're wearing the wrong color shirt today.
So one thing that, I fundamentally disagree with Van on, going back to the civil service protections. He said it protects you and you and you and you, and it doesn't. It protects the public sector workers. I would suspect the majority of you are like myself. We work in the private sector. We're at-will employees.